Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's another edition of the Tanndemonium Sports Show, broadcasting live exclusively with Vendetta Sports Media on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. Actually, today I am not your host, Brian Tan. I am Joe Madden's lost haircut.
Oh, no.
And joining Joe Madden's lost haircut is, of course, Jiarmani DePena. Jiarmani, how the hell are you?
I'm doing good, Joe. How are you doing?
Doing all right. That didn't come off as fun as I thought it would.
No, but it's just the fact that that's even a story is still just mind-boggling to me. It's funny, but it's sad at the same time.
Yeah, it really is. And of course, with us in the booth, we got Mean Mark Izzo hanging out. He's going to come in, and we're going to have some discussion going on as well, because there's a good bit to talk about right about now with
Absolutely
in the world of sports and all the craziness, the silliness. There's good, there's bad, there's ugly. Let's get into it. Let's start off with some of the ugly. So earlier on today, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson held a press conference where he basically he addressed the growing number of lawsuits. I believe in the last week there's been another 2 plaintiffs.
Yeah, I know. Anything above, like, just the fact that the number keeps growing is just it keeps adding more fuel to the fire.
I think what gets me is that eventually before, and I don't even want to say this to be facetious. I don't want to say this like I'm making a joke, but it almost terrifies me. It almost sickens me the fact that we could have upwards of 30 or more before we even get to training camp, which is insane. But either way, Deshaun Watson came out and he basically said that, he's been answering questions with his teammates, addressing it within the team, sort of keeping it on the internal. But as of 40 minutes ago, the attorney for all the plaintiffs in this case have responded to Deshaun Watson. And this is going to be very interesting. This is courtesy of Nick Selby. I hope I'm saying his name right, from SI.com. Well, because, there's some people, like, someone might say, well, your name is Jiarmani DePena, someone might call you DePena, or Subpoena. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I just want to make sure I'm saying the fella's name right. I want to give him I want to credit
I
source.
I have so many stories of how people have gotten my name wrong, but don't worry. Right. I'm not worried about it. I don't think anybody else should either.
Fair enough. All right. So apparently it's saying here that, quote, and this is a courtesy of Tony Busby. He represents 24 of these plaintiffs. And they're saying, quote, we would hope that he would show some remorse for his behavior. And here's a further quote. We were sent the video of the Watson press conference. We appreciate the Cleveland market and its fervent support with regard to its new quarterback, Deshaun Watson. But given the volume of the credible cases filed, the lead detective's sworn testimony, the undisputed facts, and the heartbreak, pain, and havoc Watson has caused, we think it would be appropriate to see Deshaun Watson express some regret or remorse in the way he treated these women, some of which have sued and many others who haven't yet. Keyword, yet. And he further goes into being quoted, attending, and they want to see him attending some sort of counseling would be at least some step forward. Nothing else to say on the subject. Jiarmani, this is just getting uglier and uglier and uglier. This is already an ugly, disgusting situation. We talked about, sort of my thoughts on it, your thoughts on it last week. Do you think this is a good idea for the plaintiffs to come out and say anything, or, what are your thoughts?
I think it takes a lot. I feel it has a lot to do with public relation, and I feel the public, everybody kind of has. I want to believe that it's more one-sided in terms of against Deshaun, because it's not looking good, like you said. But when it comes to just the entire situation, the fact that it just keeps building and building, I think as somebody in the public, I feel we deserve the right to know what's going on, just kind of keeping our ear to the streets, more or less. But I feel it just doesn't look good.
No, you're absolutely right. And, I see a lot of people on social media, specifically on Twitter, saying, well, he's innocent because the grand jury didn't prosecute. That's not necessarily him being exonerated. It's just that the facts aren't enough for the district attorney to feel like they should go to trial. And part of the reason why in cases like this is because, and it's horrible, but at this point, even with the amount of people, it falls into hearsay. There's no. I'm sure part of the issue is because there's no video.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why, I believe we talked last week, we brought up Ray Rice. The reason why Ray Rice got the discipline that he did and ultimately was out of the league is because there's video. But
Yeah.
but also one thing that we also discussed last week as well is that it's been said that Deshaun Watson made use of the power that he had via the Houston Texans and having a lot of NDAs signed, non-disclosure agreements signed, which means that maybe some of the most egregious can't come out for legal reasons. So,
yeah, it's just the fact. I remember referring to this a few weeks back when we were talking about the whole Deshaun Watson situation. It feels whether or not he's innocent, it's not a good look for him and his brand, and just it's gonna follow him even years down the line, even if he does end up producing on the field, and say he goes and wins a couple of Super Bowls and all that, people are still gonna kind of blacklist him.
Ray Lewis still, Ray Lewis is referred to as a murderer. People are still asking Ray Lewis what happened to his suit. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's going to follow him for the rest of his career, no matter how really it just ends up.
As long as he's in a public eye, it's going to follow him.
That's actually a really good take by Mark. How do the Browns look for actually signing him to that long-term contract?
It's the Browns being the Browns, really. I mean, and I say that, but I mean, when you really think about it, it really is like this is a team that they went out and got the hottest free agent because they could. And if you eliminate the fact that he's got all of this on him right now, yeah, he is a very hot commodity. This is a guy that produced in spite of being on a very, very bad Houston Texans team because the front office did a very, very bad job.
I mean, they were trading away a bunch of his guys.
They gave away Hopkins for nothing. Yep. Like, pretty much for nothing. And I'll tell you the truth. The one thing with Deshaun Watson, seeing a lot of what he was able to do in spite of what he had in front of him and the tools he had on the field, a lesser quarterback, if he were a lesser quarterback, he'd be David Carr, the older brother of Derek Carr, who was the very first overall pick by the same Houston Texans. And the fact that Deshaun Watson is set to earn $46 million this year, that is a very, very, very expensive question mark right there. Because you're going to be paying this guy $46 million. You're not even guaranteed to have him suiting up week one. Yeah. Or if at all this season. I don't know. It's an expensive. That's expensive.
Isn't Baker Mayfield still on the team?
Technically, yes, but
not for long.
No, and if you're Baker, Baker Mayfield, you're just. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I'm just like.
I don't know. Even if he does get the QB1 spot, I think he probably still want to get out of Cleveland.
Yeah, and Mark's bringing it up too. Mark hammering it home in the private chat. Panthers are trying to get Baker. Well, I mean, of course, if I'm the Panthers, I'm willing to do a lot to get Baker. Like, I'm willing to pick up the rest of his contract, like take it completely off the Browns' books.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe because really the Browns aren't. I don't see the Browns as being in a position to really, because the Browns put themselves in a very, very dark, dank hole. And of course Watson's been excused from Cleveland's mandatory minicamp. Of course, you want to talk about a team distraction, but the Browns have really painted themselves into a corner where they don't have a ton of leverage. Like, they're going to end up having to eat Baker's contract, and Baker can just be like, nah. I mean, by a PR standpoint, anyway, the Browns have pretty much screwed themselves. It's the Browns being the Browns. Except they're screwing themselves off the field instead of on the field.
I mean, eventually when it started leaking into onto the field production anyway.
Jiarmani froze. I didn't hear what you said. You froze, my dude.
No, but I'm saying it's another winless season on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be another year. And just to think, as a Steelers fan, I loved hearing the Browns talk all that ish when they played the Steelers in the playoffs and just trounced the crap out of them. Oh, this is our year. We've arrived. No. You're still the Browns. You're just.
I mean, just look at how they were a few years back. Baker was looking good. They got Odell Beckham Jr. via a trade with the Giants, and it was looking good. And now it's funny how it falls from grace. I don't know how really. I'm guessing the Browns are gonna do what the Browns do.
Pretty much. Yes, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. All right, going to another very, very sad story. Jeff Hardy, the charismatic enigma, one half of the Hardy Boys tag team. I remember when these guys first came out in the old WWF. These guys were on point, man. But Jeff Hardy has well documented substance abuse issues. Unfortunately, he's fallen off the wagon again. He most recently was arrested for a DUI, and 3 police officers pulled their guns on him during this latest stop. And that is just, it's really unfortunate, because when you grow up watching a guy, you really, really you really want to see him succeed and stay on the straight and narrow. Then when you see these larger than life individuals have issues, it really sucks. But as much as we fans, Jiarmani, feel a kind of way about it, we don't know how these guys' families feel, how they feel, what they're going through.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to growing up with seeing these guys on TV, even in a pro wrestling standpoint, famous people, you start to understand that they're still human too, and they have their own issues and demons that they have to fight. And just to see, and it's the crazy thing, because as soon as I saw this story pop up, it brought me back to when WWE released Jeff Hardy because he didn't want to go to rehab.
Yeah.
And then people were burying WWE because of that, thinking that, oh, Jeff's fine, this, that, and the other. I get where people were coming from at that time, but it's you never knew the whole story. Those guys know exactly. They know they can peek behind the curtain. We only just get to see what gets out.
We see
anyway.
what we see. Right?
Yeah.
And the officers claim that he blew a .294. That's way higher. I think the nationwide limit is what, .08. I think it is. I think .08 is you're drunk, and that's when you're just that's when you're just buzzed.
I wouldn't really know, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not a drinker anyway, so I guess that's a good thing that I don't know what the legal limit is anyway. But I mean, I think anything to drink is too much to drink. But that's
here in Pennsylvania, it's .08. So if he blew a .29, damn.
Let alone he was in a car.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the truth. What really gets me. All right, we got the tweet. Go ahead and bring that tweet up and share your screen there, Mark.
All right,
if you don't mind.
See. And it's just crazy because you just think about the other instances for Jeff. Because one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, you weren't having a great childhood if you weren't trying to emulate him, like anything that he was doing. But it's just sad to see because if you kept up with him when he went to TNA and he had that match with Sting.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that gets brought up.
That was heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
And this is a tweet from Jeff's brother and tag team partner, Matt Hardy. It was disheartening to hear the news about my brother yesterday. Recovery isn't a linear process, and I'll continue doing whatever I can to help my brother be healthy. Being healthy and well is the most important thing for Jeff, his wife, his children, and our family at this time. Very well said by Matt. And it's got to be hard to watch your younger brother go through something like this and feel like there's nothing you can do. And you're right. I heard about what happened between him and Sting, and it was so difficult. And I'll tell you the truth. Okay, yeah. Why don't you bring up AEW's statement there, Mark?
I know they did have something to say.
Yeah,
he's quick with it.
Yeah, well, I know
Shout out Mark.
Yeah, shout out to Mark, man. Mark's on top of it. Dude, Courtney Plummer would be definitely proud of you right about now.
Thank you.
All right, so this is from President and CEO of All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan. We were able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy this afternoon. AEW does not condone Jeff's alleged behavior. We've made it clear to Jeff that we'll assist him in getting treatment for substance abuse issues, which he has indicated that he's open to receiving. Thank God for that. In the interim, he is suspended without pay, and he can only return to AEW upon successfully completing treatment and maintaining his sobriety. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to an awesome. And honestly, and I do want to say that before you close that out there, Mark, I want to have that number up on the screen for a few more minutes, if you don't mind. Because here's the thing. Substance abuse is a very, very serious problem in our society right now. And a lot of people have blamed COVID. It's not just COVID. We had the issue beforehand. It's just that I think COVID is exacerbating a lot of it. So if you or anyone that you know needs help, please call the number that's on your screen, or, seek out whatever help is in your area. Not to mention the fact that mental health is another very, very important issue. There are mental health There are mental health assets available to you as well. Please reach out to any of those if you feel that you need help, if you're struggling. Thanks, Mark. So definitely want to wish Jeff Hardy and the entire Hardy family nothing but the best in what they're going through in these difficult times. So staying on the wrestling end of things for a few more minutes, and Mark, I think did you bring up this the story about John Cena, or was that you? That was Jiarmani. All right, Jiarmani. So John Cena, and I've actually started watching his movie Vacation Friends. Did you watch that? It's on Hulu.
I have not yet.
It's not bad. You know what? This is a movie that's way before your time, because this movie came out when the movie I'm about to reference came out when I was a little kid. Okay. There is a movie that came out, and this was at the height of the Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi craze, called Neighbors. And in that movie, John Belushi and his wife are this, real conservative, uptight married couple. And Dan Aykroyd and Kathy Moriarty are this loose living swinger, and they move in next door. And it's how that influence changes John Belushi's life. So watching this movie, Vacation Friends, is kind of like that. That's what it reminds me of. But anyway, John Cena is returning to the WWE. It was confirmed that he will be coming back for the June 27th episode of Raw. So not next Monday, but the Monday after. And this is going to be 20 years since his initial arrival in the WWE. Wow. He showed up for the Kurt Angle challenge, and Kurt Angle
aggression.
See, you have to say it right. You have to get more bass in your voice.
You got to get more aggression.
Aggression. And then you have to have you have to shave your head except for this little something or whatever right here. So during the break you have to go to your bathroom, shave your head except for this one little bit. Right?
Yeah, you gotta get a little bit of gray hair in there. Make it spice it up a little bit.
There you go. Make sure you spike it too. Spike it.
Yeah,
Get some of that hard gel. And apparently Austin Theory is looking to feud with John Cena. Now I'm wondering how this is going to happen, Jiarmani, because he's been trying to beef with Lashley. Now, number one, I really think that Austin Theory better make sure he don't take it a little too far because Lashley a little bit too big to be messing with.
Oh no, Bobby Lashley. Finally, he's getting the respect that he deserved, even way back 16 years ago when he first burst on the scene in WWE. So you got to be careful with Bobby Lashley because I think he has a world championship title run again in his near future.
Oh, whoa, Mark Izzo, you got to come on screen with that take. You got to come on screen.
I saw it at first. I'm like, man, that's a hot take. We got to hear Mark.
How do you figure John Cena is a better actor than Dwayne Dewey The Rock Johnson?
I have.
I say Dewey with all due respect because I ain't trying to get Black Adam'd over here.
Oh.
I got one word for you, and that is Peacemaker. Peacemaker is better if the TV show Peacemaker on HBO Max.
Series. Bro.
It's better than anything The Rock has done.
Bro.
That's a fact of life.
Dude, you trying to Tony Boselli. You trying to do a Tony Boselli. And we're going to talk that. That's actually a really good segue because your argument for John Cena is just like what Tony Boselli is trying to do to get himself into the NFL Hall of Fame. One series. Come on, man. So, all right. Now, can you at least hold back on that until Black Adam comes out? Or are you just going hard? Are you going to double down and triple down?
I will say I didn't watch the trailer for Black Adam, but I heard from people who did watch it that it looks really good. So we'll have to see.
That Black Adam, I'll tell you one thing. That Black Adam trailer looks like it's going to be the best thing that DC has put out, in my opinion.
I mean, any superhero movie at this point is better than Morbius. So.
Damn. Hey. No lie. Now I haven't seen Morbius, but I've seen the reviews, and well, honestly, anything comic book related that Sony puts out, I'm kind of rolling my. If the MCU ain't a big part of it, I'm rolling my eyes and I'm ignoring it. Okay, yeah, throw up that picture. But let me finish this point real quick though. Anything that Sony puts out that Marvel isn't attached to, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at. But I would much rather rewatch the 1990 Captain America with Matt Salinger as Captain America than watch Morbius. I would rather watch the Dolph Lundgren version of The Punisher than watch Morbius. Okay, better yet, I will happily watch Howard the Duck before I watch Morbius. Now, granted, those three movies right there are a big part of a brother's childhood, but still. All right, let's see that Austin Theory, John Cena. I'm sorry, Cena in theory, because WWF ain't doing first names no more.
Oh yeah, that whole thing is just I don't get it.
Well, because they're trying to own the rights to stuff.
Yeah, they want to own the names, so that's why they've been going to the one name. But this picture is really interesting because Vince McMahon is really high on Austin Theory, just like
he loves some Austin Theory.
Yeah, this picture is both of them early on in their careers. Shout out to my cousin for sending me this. But boom,
give your cousin's name and everything. You know,
shout out Dylan O'Brien.
All right, shout out to Dylan O'Brien. Oh wow, look at the similarities. Look at the
got
tan.
The biker shorts.
They got the biker shorts. They got the tan going. they got the hair. Wow. Yo, this looks really, really. This looks pretty eerie. Could Austin Theory be the second coming of John Cena?
Maybe.
I mean, it's
only
possible.
24.
That's true. He's still a youngin. He's just barely older than you guys. He's only older than you guys by like what, a year and a half of school.
I turned 24 this year.
Okay, so he has you by a couple of months.
He has me by a good couple of years though.
Okay.
Nah, but I'm wondering because you got to think. All right, he's coming back the 27th, and he's already done some WWE stuff on their social media pages and whatnot, and he's already called out Theory. And the thing that was great about John Cena in the second half of his run, he was trying his hardest to kind of put over the young guys. So with the the U.S. Open Challenge. That was probably one of
the U.S. title challenge. Yeah,
that made me start watching Monday nights again. At least when he was kind of, I want to say in his prime, but like when he was actually making that title be some sort of significance, giving you a reason.
Right.
You're not only winning the title and it's adding more prestige to it, but you did it by beating John Cena.
Right. Absolutely. Now I remember when I was a kid. Yeah, I know that sounds boomerish, but WWF had 3 belts: the world title, the intercontinental title, and the tag titles. That's it. And that intercontinental title was the workers' title. That was the one where if you were able to have a successful run with that, you went on to the world title scene. Now, granted, in that era, even if you did go on, you weren't winning the title from Hulk Hogan. You just weren't. But, I think now with this larger roster and you've got the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title, those titles sort of titles fell by the wayside in importance during the Attitude Era. So a lot of the times those belts just don't matter anymore. So I'm hoping that maybe they can do something with it. And yeah, AEW, because AEW just had the world title and then those tag titles. Then they got the TNT title, and then the women's title they had the women's title and the TBS title. Now, what's this new title that they got now?
They just unveiled that they're doing an All-Atlantic championship. So I assume it's going to be it's supposed to be like an Intercontinental Championship, but without using that term.
Yeah. So then, basically, I think what's going to end up happening is that TNT title is going to end up being like the old TV title that WCW had, and then you're going to have that North Atlantic Championship as your IC title. Which, I mean, all right, that can make some sense. But I'll tell you what, though, the wrestling industry has done a really, really good job at keeping itself relevant instead of going through it didn't go through as hard of a lull going into the Attitude for the years that it took to get to the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what's going on. This summer is going to be very, very interesting, especially going into SummerSlam. All right. So with that being said, we're going to take our first break. We're going to talk a little bit of the NBA Finals. Jiarmani has a little bit of venting to do about his Boston Celtics.
Don't even get me started. Actually, I need to rip this banner down before we get started. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't be that guy. Don't be that fair weather.
No, I'm not that. No, I'm riding with my team, win or lose. But
but I will say this though. Did Boston? I mean, the fact that we'll get more into it when we start talking about it. This is the Tanndemonium Sports Show. We're broadcasting live here exclusively on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. We'll be right back.
The following broadcast is brought to you in association by XP Coffee Company. XP Coffee Company is the fresh brewed coffee made for gamers by gamers. Get amazing flavors like Choco Loco in 8, 12, or 16-ounce bags. Or level up and get Illusion, Isolation, Nightmare, or the Majestic Throne blends in light, medium, or dark roast in whole bean, coarse French press, drip, or fine espresso in 12-ounce, 16-ounce, or 2-pound bags. Wow! Shipping worldwide. If you're in the U.S., go to usa.xpcoffee.co. If you're in Europe or in the U.K., go to www.xpcoffee.co. XP Coffee Company, for gamers, by gamers.
All right, we're back here on the Tanndemonium Sports Show, broadcasting live exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. Jiarmani, your squad, dude. What is going on?
What is going on with the Boston Celtics?
What is going on with the Boston Celtics? I mean, right now, the Warriors are up 3-2. Thursday night, we're 2 games. Now, you said off air, the series isn't ending in the Garden.
That is true.
You were very adamant about that.
Okay.
But what happened? I mean, because Steph did not have his best game, but
absolutely, he didn't hit a 3-pointer.
He did. That's the first time he hasn't hit a 3-pointer since right before he was born, I think.
That's a good one. Now, okay, Celtics in Game 5. Mm-hmm. I noticed something when I've been watching the Celtics' playoff run. after the Brooklyn series.
Okay.
Whenever I get physically annoyed with this team, they're playing at their absolute worst. And I think that sounds a little more simple than what I'm thinking about, but I think everybody can see that this team is not playing up to their potential. I said in the latest NBA short that dropped before Game 5 that execution is what wins the Celtics a championship. Because when they execute, they are the best team in these playoffs. Because they proved it against Milwaukee, because they easily could have folded in 6, but if they executed, they could have beat Milwaukee in 5. They could have beat Miami. Miami didn't have to go 7 with either one of those teams. Like, they swept Brooklyn, it was competitive, yeah, but they still ended up executing to when they had to actually get those wins. So to see the Celtics drop their first back-to-backs in the playoffs, I just feel, me as a fan, they're just trying to absolutely just make it the most anxiety-induced playoff run in the history of sports.
You know, I mean that sounds good. Well, so let's break that down just a little bit, because like we just started talking about, Steph did not have his best game, and a lot of the times, because Steph is, like, a lot of people forget, I think, because of what Steph Curry brings to the table. They think that when Steph is not having a good game, this team is going to buckle like a belt. But nah, Andrew Wiggins showed, hey, I'm still here. I was a top draft pick for a reason. I came out with fanfare for a reason. Steph didn't make at least 1 3 for the first time in 233 games. It's a long time.
Absolutely.
That's regular season and postseason. Now, do you think that, in your opinion, with Andrew Wiggins sort of, maybe at this point, he needs somebody. Andrew Wiggins needs to be that number 2. He was never going to be that number 1 guy. Not every hot prospect is going to be a number 1 guy. It almost seems like he had to become a number 2, number 3 to really be able to shine.
Now, it's kind of done him wonders that he got traded to Golden State, because being in Minnesota and playing for a team like Golden State are 2 drastically different situations for him. He doesn't have to be that number 1 option. He doesn't have to be even the number 2 option, because you got the Splash Brothers over there. He just needs to be able to do his part, and I feel for sure he had a great game, and he's been having a great finals, and he has been able to fit the role when it's a lot less pressure, at least for him on that team now. Because think going into next season, no matter how the series ends, Clay is going to come back, and I feel he's going to be back at 100%. Come next season. So he's going to be around that 3rd option that can take over and eventually become that 2nd option if Clay actually starts showing age. But I feel either way for Clay and Steph, these guys, his jumper is going to have them play well late into their 30s. But just seeing he has to be that number 2 if Golden State wants a chance to hoist the championship up at the end of the season.
And the one thing that I'll definitely say as well is, if you're the Celtics, because this series got really physical, very physical. And even myself, I said that, if Marcus Smart is really getting rugged, and the Celtics really, start getting their execution on, like you already said, this is going to be an amazing series. But the one thing that I probably should, it's on me, egg on my face for not bringing up, Draymond get pretty physical too, and Draymond is like the closest thing to Dennis Rodman that we got in this modern day of basketball.
Yeah, he had a good game last night too. I'll give him that. He had his best game of the finals. The thing with the Celtics is that it's just, for whatever reason, throughout these finals, they have had such a big problem trying to shake the fact that the calls aren't going their way. And just it seems like they have a beef with the officiating of the game. Like Game 2, they were allowing Draymond to kind of do a whole lot more. Kind of like you can see clips of Game 2 when he was actually grabbing multiple people when he was trying to set screens for Steph. But the thing is, you can't be focused on that. You can't be if you want to win a championship, you can't be focused on trying to get a bailout call. And here's another thing that was really annoying me in Game 5 is that they were getting upset with calls and they weren't getting the calls. But when they started getting to the free throw line, they missed 10 free throws. And I'm like,
can't do that. You cannot miss free throws, especially in the finals. Every point counts, especially in the finals.
Here's the thing. Obviously, if I'm a referee and I'm seeing that happen, I wouldn't call anything either. I mean, that's just me. If I was a referee, it's like, you complaining about calling.
Why am I going to lob you a call when you can't even do anything with it?
That's one of the most infuriating things that I've seen throughout, like even going through the conference finals, that these guys are missing free throws. It's about execution. If they execute, they win games. They limit the turnovers and actually hit some damn free throws. Because you saw how they were in the third quarter, and they were down 16, and they even had a lead. And then the fourth quarter came around, and then they just wet themselves.
It's just like, got other places I got to be, things I want to do.
I want to go back to Boston with a chance for them to hoist a trophy on our home floor. That's what I think. If the Celtics team has the heart that I believe that this team has, and I have faith in this team that they'll go 7. We even both agreed that Celtics would at least go 7 games. I said Celtics. Yeah. I'm not sure if you went Celtics or Warriors.
I think I decided to play Switzerland, so I couldn't be wrong.
But I said Celtics in 7, so they had to lose 3 games in order for my pick to be right.
Correct.
So we'll see what kind of team these guys really are, because they've been down 3-2 before.
And Mark poses a really good question. Who do you think needs to step up for the Celtics in order for them to win?
I feel a easy cop-out answer would just be everyone. But I think it starts at the top, and then it starts finding its way down to the rest of the guys on the team. Jason Tatum had a good game. He had his best game efficiency-wise against in Game 5. Mm-hmm. But that's not good enough, because what gets them started is their defense. And they were just allowing guys – they pretty much were allowing everybody else. Yeah, you stop Steph, that's great, but you were allowing everybody else to start to get going. That's a championship team over there in Golden State. No matter who they have on, they still have the guys that were there for those championship runs. Right. If you have the heart of a champion, you're gonna make adjustments, and you're gonna show what you got in Game 6. So I feel the Celtics team, they're gonna play with heart, and they're not gonna allow Game 6 to be where their season dies.
You know what? I'm gonna take the cop-out answer, but I'm gonna do it for a different reason. Everyone on this team does need to step up, but I think that it's got to start with Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is the defensive anchor of this team. He is the lifeblood on this team on the defensive side of the ball. Marcus Smart needs to really start locking down, and the rest of the Celtics need to follow suit. In these sports games that we got nowadays, every single one has a badge or whatever you want to call it, where basically your player makes everyone else better. You raise the stats of your team while you're on the floor. And I think that Marcus Smart needs to find that leadership level that he's able to do that. He needs to play that badge. He needs to unlock his 2K leadership badge. He's got to set the tone defensively for that team, and the rest of the team needs to follow suit. It can't just be one guy. You look, and I'm going to reference the Bulls. I'm going to reference the Bulls of the 90s. Before Scottie Pippen came to Chicago, it was Michael Jordan doing everything by himself. And then Scottie Pippen showed up. Then Horace Grant showed out. They got Bill Cartwright. Jordan was playing some crazy defense. Pippen started playing defense. Grant was playing defense. And it trickled down. And then when Rodman got there, it was already automatic. It's just that you had an additional defensive juggernaut and rebounder. Good teams have that defense going, and they make it work at the right time. So I think that Marcus Smart needs to start playing that lockdown D, and it's got to trickle down to the rest of this team.
Execution.
We've
seen what this team can do when they actually execute. And if they execute come Thursday, we're going to see things are going to get a whole lot more interesting in Game 7, because going into Game 6, their backs are against the wall. And if I've been trying to avoid, so at least like the sports end of social media, at least the basketball Twitter and all that stuff, because everybody, and even on ESPN, everybody's kind of already counting the Celtics out. It's like the series ain't over. I'm concerned, yeah, but we can only take it one game at a time. Force a Game 7, and then we'll then it's best of one. And I think either, like, I just don't think that this team I don't think Ime Udoka will allow this team to die in the Garden. You're taking it back to Golden State. I know Steve Kerr and these guys. You can't allow these guys to pretty much kind of punk you because they got punked in the fourth quarter of Game 5. You had Gary Payton doing push-ups when he got fouled. You got Draymond trying to punk Jason Tatum when they were going back to the bench when JT had the ball. And it's just you guys see how at least when you guys see how infuriating it could be as not even as a Celtics fan, but how those guys feel. Yeah, you guys have dropped 2. Now go make some history. Go come back from a 3-2 lead and beat Golden State. That's what I say. Execute, and you guys will be champions.
All right, let's stay on the topic of playoffs. Stanley Cup Finals are set. I was very excited to see the Tampa Bay Lightning eliminate the hated, the despised, the New York Rangers.
Wow.
I do not like the New York Rangers. I really don't.
Yeah.
Bro, I deleted an entire game off of my Xbox because I was drafted by the Rangers. All right?
Rangers.
I hate I hate every single aspect of the New York Rangers, from skate to helmet. I just hate it. I just don't like that team. So I'm checking out the Denver Post, and this is from Mike Chambers of the Denver Post. And, he's setting out some stuff, talking about who has the edge, this, that, and the other, the way it comes as far as, how things are going to go. And I know that you don't pay attention to the NHL as closely as you do the NBA. But I kind of want to get your take. For one, what do you think? Number one, who do you think is going to win this in this series? What do you think it's going to go to?
Wow. I saw
I'm throwing you on the spot.
I saw
right there.
I saw on Bleacher Report they had a poll, and he said it's going at least 6 games. But I feel, at least from my limited knowledge of hockey, if it's a good series, it goes 7.
Mm-hmm.
No matter, it just depends. No matter how good the teams are, if it's competitive, it's going 7. So I think it's going to go 7.
Okay.
Do I know who's going to win, or am I confident in my answer? I originally picked Edmonton to win, and I'll probably just.
I was really marking out over Edmonton just because, like I said, Connor McDavid, he can get pulled over in a residential area in a school area. So what?
I feel he's on the couch now.
Yeah, he really is. I'll tell you what, I'm going Colorado. I have Colorado in 6. I feel like, the Lightning have the edge as far as experience. Absolutely, they've been dominant in they've been dominant in the finals, in the Stanley Cup Finals. This is 3rd year straight. And
I was about to ask if it was like just the
3rd straight.
So they're defending champs.
Yes, they are the defending champs. 3rd straight. Can they three-peat? It's a good question. And I'll tell you the truth. There's one part of me that don't want them to, as a Penguins fan. But at the same token, they did beat the Rangers. So I kind of owe them a little bit of loyalty.
I'll give you a pass.
But at the end of the day, my gut tells me that it's going to be Avalanche in 6. I just think, like, watching the Avalanche play this postseason, I've seen them play more than I've seen any team play this whole playoff series. They are just crisp. They go tape to tape so, like, beyond efficient. Like, at this level, you need to be efficient anyway. You better be, or you're not in the NHL. But they have taken efficiency to a whole other level. They don't get rattled. I mean, and I'm actually going to go back to Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals when Evander Kane, he just flew. And I mean, this cat flew, scored like it was nothing. What happened? Colorado came right back.
Yeah, that was a shootout that game.
Yeah, like, okay, so you scored. So that's the way it's going to be. They put on their Brett Favre mask and they played shootout hockey.
I just think it's crazy. I've told you this. It's like just trying to wrap my mind about professional hockey it's a struggle. And the fact that these goalies are some of the best in the world and they are letting up as many goals as they did, even in that Game 1, I just think that's mind-boggling.
Well, it lets you know, though, just how those shots are coming, how fast and hard they're coming.
I watched one game between it was the Rangers and the Lightning, and just like it's just so hard keeping track of the puck as fast as it's going.
I really wish that they would still do it. Like a lot of people didn't like it, but when Fox was airing the games, they had that little light doohickey on the puck.
Oh, like a little aura around it.
Just so you can see where it was going, and folks didn't like that. I like that because it's hard for me to see where the biscuit's at.
Yeah.
I can't see it. Where the hell is it? Now, granted, it's a little black vulcanated piece of rubber on white ice, but that is hard to see when they're shooting like that.
And it looks tiny. It looks like a pebble from when I was watching. It was like this big.
Maybe I need to get super duper HD, or maybe I need new glasses. I don't know. So the Denver Post average speed of a slap shot is over 100 miles an hour.
Damn.
A slap shot goes faster than I can throw. Okay. So now here's the thing. So going back to the Denver Post, looking at who has the edge, they give the Avalanche the edge on forwards. I'm not going to start reading through the whole thing, but I'm just going to go through this real quick. Forwards, Avalanche have the edge. Defensemen, the Avalanche have the edge. Goaltending, Lightning have the edge. Special teams, Avalanche has the edge. Coaching, even.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now hearing all that, I'm saying Lightning in 7.
You're saying Lightning in 7?
I'll just pick the opposite end of the spectrum. Lightning in 7, because in the 7-game series, all bets are off. And like even going back to the NBA Finals thing, it's like just because a team has this stat going into the postseason or even throughout the postseason, that can change because the postseason's still going on.
Right.
Well, the game of adjustments.
Well, it's also why the game ain't played on paper at the end of the day. Couple of the now the Denver Post, they have this is the way they've got. Now it makes me wonder who's a homer and who isn't. But because I mean you have a lot of homers in local sports. You just do. Mike Chambers, Avalanche beat reporter, has Avalanche in 6. Mark Kisla, columnist, has Avalanche in 7. Sean Keeler has the Lightning in 7, same as you. Ryan O'Halloran has an Avalanche in 6. So some of us are going to be right, some of us are going to be wrong. That's why it's much more fun to watch the game. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to talk more about this next week because game 1 is tomorrow night. I think, let's see, tomorrow's Wednesday. That's good. That means I think me and Mrs. Tan, after I take care of a couple of things work-related, me and Mrs. Tan are probably going to curl up on the couch, have a nice glass of wine, and watch a little bit of hockey. So, all right.
How many fights do you think are going down in the Stanley Cup?
I don't know. There hasn't been. There haven't been that many fights that I've been hearing about. I mean, there's been aggressive ass play, but sadly enough, man, fighting. I really wish there would be more fights. I love hockey.
It's a lost art in hockey now, isn't it?
You know what? I'll tell you what. I always play an enforcer when I play the NHL games, the EA NHL games. I always play an enforcer, and I love it. Like I'm still in the preseason with the Buffalo Sabres, and we played the Boston Bruins. And I got into a fight with Brad Marchand, and I kicked his ass. I have not lost a fight yet in the preseason.
I'd say if I ever pick up NHL, that's probably what I'm going to be playing. Probably a big ass forward, just enforcer.
See, I wouldn't know how to play forward. I only know how to play defenseman.
I only know how to play ass kicker.
Pretty much.
I only know how to skate and whoop your ass. That's it.
That's the way I look at it. I'm about Doug the Thug Glatt. I really am. But I'll tell you, but I was real happy the fact that I beat the crap out of Brad Marchand. I felt really, really good. Matter of fact, I can't remember who the other guy was, but I smashed Marchand, and some dude just came out the cut and wanted to fight me. I was hoping it was Chara, but it was some other dude. I think his last name was Hall. I don't really know who he is, but it wasn't Chara. Oh, I did about give him the business. Oh, I gave him the John Cena 5-knuckle shuffle.
Oh, my God.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to go to a little bit of baseball, close out with some NFL. Derrick Henry discussing a potential new contract. Bruce Smith not happy with how Tony Boselli is getting into the Hall. Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith are on the same page. Tyreek Hill. Are they turning into the Road Warriors on Tyreek Hill? Is Tyreek Hill going to get the Doomsday device from the? We'll see. We're going to talk about that a little bit more on the final segment of the Tanndemonium Sports Show. We're broadcasting live exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. We'll be right back.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. In case you hadn't heard, your favorite Renegade Sports Media group has its own Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media to support our efforts to continuously bring you sports, gaming, and other media coverage as only we can. We've got 4 different membership tiers. For $3 a month, we'll give you a simple thank you on our Patreon site. For $6 a month, you get a thank you and you get to become a recruit in Jackson Law's Vendetta University Gaming Series. For $10 a month, you get everything from the previous tiers, a special thank you at the end of our videos, free access to our upcoming Discord chat, and a free koozie after 4 months. And then the big dog, $50 a month, gets you everything from the previous tiers, as well as opportunities for Fantasy League invites, stream gaming, possible invites to mock NFL and NBA draft sessions, a once-a-month Google Hangout, and after 4 months, a free t-shirt. Yeah! Go to patreon.com/Vendetta Sports Media and help us to improve our pledge to bring you the best sports, gaming, and other media coverage.
All right, we're back for the final segment of the Tanndemonium Sports Show. We're broadcasting live exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media, proud member of the Vendetta Sports Media Podcasting Network. You know, Jiarmani, they say that imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. Yeah.
Shout out Josh Taylor.
Yeah, Josh Taylor does say that. But you know who else said that today was Michael Hode, lead writer of Yahoo Sports. Well, not lead writer, but he's a writer for Yahoo Sports. And he brought up a very, very interesting stat. See, Mark Izzo is the only one that can come up with the elusive stats. But shout out to Mark. Vlad Guerrero Jr. He's on the stat line to being a Hall of Famer. Now, check this out. Vlad Guerrero has 87 home runs through his first 403 Major League Baseball games with an on-base percentage of .363. His father, Vlad Guerrero Sr., has hit 87 home runs over the first 403 games of his Major League Baseball career with an on-base percentage of .363. You can't make this up. Like, I don't think anything like this is ever going to happen again. Like, unless Vlad Jr. has Vlad the Third, and in 2050, Vlad the Third, or 2055, Vlad the Third is doing the same thing. But I mean, that's amazing, Jiarmani.
Oh, absolutely. Vladimir Guerrero Sr. is one of my favorite baseball players of all time. Absolutely. And he's probably one of the greatest to ever hit a baseball barehanded. I know there's other guys like Posada, was Salute. I'm not counting like the old guys like Babe Ruth and guys like that because batting gloves weren't really very apparent back then anyway.
Right.
But Vladimir Guerrero Sr. was he was all world outfielder, at least on the offensive end. Defense probably a little to be desired, but he had a cannon for an arm, so that made up for it. Yeah. And Junior, I feel he has a couple of MVPs in his future. His dad got one. I think he'll eclipse his father if he kind of stays on the same pace that he set last year, because I feel he had a strong case for MVP last year, and he probably would have won it if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist. But it's funny how kind of storybook it's really been, because he's playing for the same, like he's homegrown because he grew up in Canada. And obviously his dad played for the Expos when he was there. And I feel eventually he has the talent to kind of eclipse his dad, at least on the offensive side, especially more on the fact that he's probably going to kind of find his way to just being more of a DH than being any form of everyday player, because you're going to have his bat in the lineup. He's kind of been scuffling as of late, but I think it's just the beginning of a really long and successful career for Vladdy Jr.
Now, someone who saw Vlad Sr., in his earliest days, I mean, this guy was just a force to be reckoned with. And the man was like, honestly, I'm glad I never had to pitch to him. Now, when I talk about some of my favorite hitters in history, the only reason I don't mean to leave him out of the discussion. I very much do mean to keep him there. It's just that those great hitters and those great players that I grew up with, just, you know, the Ken Griffey Jr.'s, the Tony Gwynns, and Frank Thomas, and I'll even say Barry Bonds before he went Hulk smash. And I mean, and I'm even Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. I mean, those guys were titans, and Vlad Guerrero got it done nicely, quietly, but he still got it done, and he was still exciting. When I say quietly, I don't mean that, you know, I don't mean anything negative against it, but I mean because of Guerrero, I think because of McGwire and Sosa, he sort of fell by the wayside a little bit. You know what I mean? And will Vlad Jr. surpass Vlad Sr.? I think so. I think that what you're going to see from Vlad Jr. is he's going to do exactly what Ken Griffey Jr. did. He made his own way, separating his legacy from his father. And I think that's exactly what Vlad Jr. is going to do. He's going to separate his own legacy from his father, and he's going to make the case of how great he is on his own merit.
I'd say the talk with talking about Griffey Jr. and his dad is that Jr. was so much different than Senior.
Much different
because
player.
You look at Griffey Sr., yeah, he was more of a contact guy. He was more kind of making you pay on the base path, and he was just he was more of a role player in baseball standpoint. He was never one of the best players in the league.
Yeah, he was a great role player, but yeah, you're right. He was the guy that got it done that was really unsung.
Yeah. And then you have Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
Absolute 5-tool player. And in my eyes, one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He's definitely, I said this again. I know I said this about Mike Trout. He won a ring. If Griffey Jr. wins a World Series, because he can hold that over. That's why I love putting the World Series, like, I count that accolade so much more seriously than maybe any NBA championship or anything like that. Because look at Griffey. If he had a ring, he would have had one. He has even one more than Barry, more than Sosa. He has more than, well, not Babe Ruth because, you know, Yankees. But you see what I mean? A bunch of these greats don't have one.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Well, but I also say, though, I think the difference, though, in sports is that stats in baseball, I think, go a much longer way than they do in some other games, and I think it's because of the longevity of the players as well as the length of a season.
Yeah.
Because to be truly elite, you have to be consistently good, not just for 82 games, not just for 16 games, but for 162 games.
And you got to keep that pace for like at least 10 to 15 years at the minimum.
Right. And I think that if Ken Griffey Jr. doesn't break his wrist in Seattle, he's the home run king.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Without a doubt. Barry Bonds, even though he got exposed to all that gamma, and, you know, we've seen him throwing buses at people, and billionaires are putting on super suits to beat the crap out of them, Barry Bonds doesn't touch what Ken Griffey Jr. does clean.
I would say this about Griffey. Even if we're talking about, okay, if Barry stayed clean, and
well, if Barry stayed clean, he probably would have. I think Barry, if he would have stayed clean,
he's still one of the greatest of all time.
He would still be one of the greatest of all times,
and that's the problem.
Yeah, Barry didn't need it. Barry did not need it.
A lot of these guys didn't need it when you really think about it.
Paul Merrill didn't need it.
Oh, yeah, him. I don't think Sammy really needed it. You can say the things about McGwire.
Well, Sammy kind of did. Because Sammy, I mean, at least because Mark McGwire, we don't know how long Mark McGwire was doing it for, because, you know, him and Canseco were juicing together. And I think that Canseco's numbers sort of eclipsed what McGwire was doing until McGwire left and went to St. Louis. Would Barry be in the Hall of Fame without the juice? Absolutely. He absolutely would be without the juice. If Barry Bonds isn't on the juice, I think that him and Griffey have very, very similar numbers. It's just that Griffey has
the glove. I would say
Griffey has
Griffey
the glove.
just for, like, the fact that he can play center field like that.
But they had similar speed, similar swing, similar pop off the bat. It's just that Griffey just had a little bit more. I think Griffey probably has 700, and I think he just barely would beat Hank Aaron. I think that if Bonds never juices and Griffey never gets hurt, the home run top 4: Griffey, Aaron, Bonds, Ruth.
I can't remember the exact number of home runs Griffey had. So, Mark, if you can find Ken Griffey Jr.'s career home run total.
He had 600 or so. I know he had over 600.
It was 630.
630.
And I'll say this: if Griffey, I'm not even saying if Griffey stayed 100% healthy. Yeah, I know you said he broke his wrist in Seattle, but didn't he have another pretty bad injury in Cincinnati?
He had some injuries in Seattle as well, lower body injuries in Seattle.
Yeah, in Cincinnati, if he doesn't get hurt the way he does, that was the biggest problem with injuries. So even without a World Series appearance or a ring, if Ken Griffey Jr. doesn't get injured the way he does in the second half of his career, he's the greatest of all time. So with the thing, I have to say,
if he wouldn't have gone to Cincinnati, he would have a ring. I
think it was. If he was on that 0-1 Seattle team, that could have been. So imagine that. That's the whole discussion for that outfield
in and of itself.
Oh my God. But you have I'm talking here about Barry and a lot of these guys who were quote unquote juicing, and then you got guys like Manny and some of these other guys that most likely aren't making it to the Hall of Fame because they were using steroids or PEDs or whatever. And I feel I don't kind of hold players to that kind of standard. Oh, you were juicing. Oh, you were doing this, so you shouldn't be allowed to be a Hall of Famer. I say this the argument when it comes to talking about people who should be in the Hall of Fame because they did steroids or not. They still had to produce at a very high level.
Yes,
just because they were doing it doesn't mean they get some all-world talent that comes with it. It just gives them the fuel to be able to.
It gives them that leg up. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how steroids work. To my understanding, it just helps. It kind of.
It helps you to recover. It helps your recovery.
Yeah, so you can work out more and all that stuff.
Yeah. Basically, it helps your recovery, and it also gets you a lot more growth, and it sort of builds more. Problem is, but I mean, it is what it is. I really think that at the end of the day, though, to take it back to Vlad Jr., I think Vlad definitely, when he's all said and done, he's got his own legacy, and I think he does surpass Vlad Sr. in his own way.
I feel a lot.
As long as he stays healthy.
For sure. But that's what I said. It's gonna help him in the long run if he starts they switch him from third to first, and eventually I feel they're just gonna start putting him at DH. So that's gonna help him injury wise. He's probably not gonna run into the injury bug too much compared to guys like Griffey who was playing center field and it was higher risk. But then you have these young guys, and I feel Vladdy is kind of, I want to say, leading the charge for the youth movement in baseball. But you got Tatis who's out, and then actually I saw a report that his recovery from his wrist is kind of worse than the Padres thought, so he's going to be out for a little bit longer. Yeah. And we need guys like that back on the field to kind of get growing the game and growing the love of the game more. It's guys like Tatis and Vladdy and Rafael Devers and Acuna in Atlanta. It's that's important. They gotta show the next generation, these next generation of players have to kind of bring the youth back into baseball and just that universal love back into baseball.
Oh, I agree 100%. And the fact he's only 23 years old.
Haven't even hit his prime yet.
Nope. He's going to be dominant for a good long time. All right, let's move on to the NFL. Derrick Henry discussing the potential for a new contract. Now, here's the thing. The Titans weren't able to lock down A.J. Brown. He's gone. We're not going into that drama. The Titans, now you said when we first started talking about this off air, they need to lock him down. He's the only real super piece that they have left. And he signed a 4-year, $50 million deal back in 2020, so we're at the midway point. Now, here's my only thing. And I told you this when we were off air, but I want to get your opinion when I say what I'm going to say. when you're a running back and you start, you get that first real bad lower body injury that keeps you out for a substantial amount of time. For me, that's kind of a warning flag. If as a team, now I'm not begrudging players getting paid. No way, no shape, no form. You're putting your body on the line. Get as much money as you can so you can have some financial security when it's done, especially when you've made these owners billions upon billions of dollars. But I'm very curious to see, because the running back position at this point, it's really been devalued because the workhorse running back is becoming a dime breed. You got Derrick Henry, you got Najee Harris, and then Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Christian McCaffrey. And that's it. You don't have that many. Most of the league has gone to the running back by committee. 219 rushing attempts from Derrick Henry last year. Human body's only going to be able to put up so much. Najee Harris is already talking to Mike Tomlin about maybe lowering his workload to make sure that he can stay healthy. So, 378 rushing attempts in 2020. So, Jiarmani, if you're the GM of the Tennessee Titans, how do you look at this? Do you lock him up and then maybe bring in a free agent or draft another running back to sort of take some of the load off of this guy?
I would say the big one name I wanted to ask you about before I talk about Derrick Henry is, when it comes to the workhorse running back, where is Saquon Barkley? Is he still? I know he went down. I think it was a torn ACL, so I kind of haven't heard from him since.
Saquon has had so many injuries coming into the league. I think part of the problem with Saquon is that Giants team is in such disarray. That Giants team is such a mess.
They should have traded him.
They have not. Yeah, they really should have. They have not had a line to be able to put in front of Saquon so Saquon can do his thing. And Saquon is amazing out of the backfield. But the thing is that some of these backs that are so explosive at the college level, it's hard to have that same sort of explosiveness in the NFL because everyone on the field is just like you were.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make that transition. And with Saquon, that's another thing. That injury bug, and now that this is last year, that was his second major injury. He ain't even really been in the league 5 years yet. He's still on that rookie deal. This is the end of that rookie deal.
And if the Giants are going to keep him around their game, that's more fuel to add to kind of devalue him as a player, even though I feel, at least to me, I feel he can still be very productive if he had a better offensive line protecting him. But
I agree.
I would say, all right, so switching over to Derrick Henry. If I'm the GM of the Tennessee Titans, I am taking – you still have 2 years left. And, I feel the biggest thing is that whether or not he's going to stay just throughout the contract and not sign an extension, or if they're going to keep him long-term, the biggest thing is being able to add pieces around him to make the most off your investment.
Right.
So it's either you're going to do right by him or you're going to just remain scuffling, being a playoff team that's going to get bounced, or I'd say just trade him if you're not going to do right by him. But I feel they're going to make the most off their investment, sign him to a big deal, and actually kind of pitch to him and say, hey, we're trying to win a Super Bowl, and we want you here to do it.
Yeah. Now, if I'm a GM, one thing I say to Henry, do you want a ton of money here at the jump, or do you want us to use some of this money to get you not only an offensive line in front of you that's going to keep you healthy, but maybe bring in a quality back so that you're not running the ball almost 400 times a season. So you're not, you know what I mean? So we can maybe take your workload. Now, he got 219 rushing attempts last year because of his injury. If he doesn't get hurt, he's running the ball another almost 400 times. Especially when you've got a quarterback like Ryan Tannehill, who Ryan Tannehill is the second coming of Trent Dilfer, in my opinion. So that running game is essentially all you've got. If I'm a running back in this NFL, I want some money going to that offensive line, and I want a complimentary back. I want someone so that my knees work when I'm done. I don't want to be physically O.J. Simpson when it's over. Because, ugh.
Okay, so I would say let me ask you this, because I know Mark posted a good question. What position should they try to get? Would you say a quarterback would kind of help solve some of those issues? Because I feel, at least to me, a good quarterback can make even a middling group of receivers seem like at least average or above average, because they're playmakers, quarterbacks. So I feel being able to kind of unlock the rest of the potential that whatever offense they like to run is getting a good quality quarterback. I feel that's the start for every good championship team.
See, maybe it's just me, but you got to go into the trenches. You got to get those hogs at the front. It starts and ends at the line of scrimmage. If you don't win the line of scrimmage, you don't win the game. Period. You know, and if your offensive line is on roller skates backwards, you're screwed.
Oh yeah,
you're absolutely screwed. So, is getting a good starting quarterback important? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. But you at least want to get your offensive line to not only keep your quarterback upright, but really open up those holes so that you can get through and get to the next level to take some of that stress off of you. And they have the 16th ranked offensive line. Thank you, Mark Izzo. So they're middle of the pack. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Sorry, that was if John. That's a musical. That's musical theater joke for you right there.
Okay.
So they're at the middle of the pack, and it's not too bad. I mean, I get that, but I mean, I seriously think if I wait until we're at least toward the end of the season, I want to see what Henry's workload is. Has he stayed healthy? And then I see about I get him that money, but I also let him know. Just keep in mind, if we break the bank for you, we can't put a strong line in front of you. We can't get you that complimentary back so that we're not running you until your brakes fall, till your wheels fall off. You know, and that's the saddest thing about the running back position. It's really, really sad that position has been devalued the way it has. When, man, oh man, you want to talk about stress and strain on those knees.
One bad injury, and then you can kiss a pretty decent pay raise goodbye.
Yeah, because I mean, at least if a quarterback goes down with a bad knee, quarterback ain't got to run. They don't have to. How many times do you see Tom Brady breaking off a run? The pocket collapses and he takes off and runs. Almost never. He just throws the damn ball away. He rolls out from between the hash marks and throws the damn ball away. Yo, Jackson Law's Miami Dolphins, when Dan Marino was on that team and his knee got torn to shite. He's on the field with a knee brace that's the size of my entire body. He just threw the ball away. Running back, you're useless if you ain't got your legs. So, all right, moving on. I definitely want to talk this Bruce Smith story, but we ripped Stephen A. Smith apart last week. It seems like Stephen A. Smith is trying to jump on a bandwagon with Shannon Sharp. They're tag teaming on Tyreek Hill. Where basically, so Tyreek Hill, and I want to bring Mean Mark Izzo in on this discussion real quick. So Tyreek Hill was having a discussion. I believe he was on a podcast. And he basically said that, Patrick Mahomes may have the stronger arm than Tua Tagovailoa. But Tua is more accurate in that because he is not there in Kansas City, Mahomes is going to struggle. Mark Izzo, First of all, what do you think of that? What do you think of Tyreek Hill saying that? Is that Tyreek Hill putting over his new quarterback and his own talent, or is he actually sort of throwing shade and sour grapes on his old team?
Well, I think that it's him trying to hype up Tua because he just signed that big contract with Miami. So obviously he's gonna have his quarterbacks back. He's gonna try to hype him up. But I mean, I've seen a lot of people being really concerned with this. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it just puts a lot of pressure on Tua.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Jackson Law would always, we would talk about Tua a lot whenever it came to the Dolphins. And I think that Tua, number one, Tua is probably one of the toughest quarterbacks in the game today. The fact that he had the same injury that Bo Jackson had, and he's still playing, where Bo Jackson's career was over. Now, do you think, Jiarmani, that these comments are as scrutinized if we didn't see that video of Tua? It looks like he kind of threw a lame duck during that OTAs. Now, granted, that's a throw that, it's during the OTAs. He's probably not going to try to put everything into it. It's just, I'm just tossing the ball. But do you think if that video doesn't come out, this is as big of a story as it is? Or was it going to be a big story because he put Mahomes' name in his mouth?
I think I wouldn't say it's more with the OTAs. I think it's just more of star level player goes from one team or to another, and he's hyping up a player on his new team and trying to bury somebody who was on his old team. Now,
so you do think that it's sort of it's one half putting over his new squad, another half he's throwing shade.
I think he's doing it in the spirit of competition because, hey, you want to be kind of dragging Patrick Mahomes' name through the mud. You guys got a Super Bowl together. I think that's pretty important. But talking about him being on Miami now, okay, I'm looking at you as the enemy. Me and you are not on the same team anymore. It may be cool beans off the field, but now it's game time. So I think it's more trying to get a psychological advantage. It's like you're trying to boost the confidence of your quarterback. And yeah, Mark, like you said, it might just be putting more pressure on Tua to be great. And sometimes some guys live up to those expectations. Sometimes they fall by the wayside. Only time will tell.
All right. So, and I'm going to direct this question to both of you. So with him saying, though, that Mahomes is going to struggle without him. Now, I think that that's also sort of some shade because you figure they brought in Juju Smith-Schuster. Do you think that he's sort of throwing a little bit of shade there as well? Because it's like you really think do you think the TikTok dancer is going to outperform me? The Walmart version of me is, wow, he said Juju was the Wish.com Tyreek Hill. That's messed up. Man, you leave Juju alone, man. Somebody stole his bike once.
And he was over here worrying about TikTok dances when he should have been worrying about football.
Oh,
I'll say that's the most I'll say about Juju Smith-Schuster. He's a great player, but okay, you got to execute. But Mark, go ahead. You can answer it.
I don't know. I mean, I think that we were debating for the past couple of years if Mahomes is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And if you look at who is probably the most agreed upon greatest quarterback ever is Tom Brady. If you look at him,
I'm playing. You know what? The numbers do back him up.
Yeah, I'm an Eagles fan.
All I want to say is I just want to make sure every single solitary football is of regulation size. That's all.
I'm an Eagles fan saying that. So. But so if you look at Tom Brady,
I'm a Steelers fan. I'm too petty.
I mean, he has Nick Foles to he can actually make a decent argument. Nick Foles outplayed Tom Brady.
That's a good point. But that's a good point by you.
But to be fair, Tom Brady threw for I think what it was over 500 yards that Super Bowl, something crazy like that.
Yeah,
he did about throw faster than I drive sometimes.
So if you look at Tom Brady, he oftentimes didn't have a lot of great wide receivers to throw to. So I think we're going to see just how good Patrick Mahomes really is this year because, yes, he has Juju, but I don't really think Juju's that skilled of a player. And I think who was it? Hill said that he's the Wish.com version of him. I think
actually I said that.
Well, that's even better.
More or less. We're trying to conceptualize it.
Technically, Jiarmani said it.
That's a Walmart.
Jiarmani implied it. I just took it to the next level. But I don't have any hate for Juju. I really don't. But at the same token, if you really want to compare them, their games are also completely different. Where Tyreek Hill is a burner, and Juju is like the modern day version of Hines Ward. He's a bruising wide receiver. He lays hits on linebackers. He blocks. He does all that stuff. That's not Tyreek Hill's game. So they're two completely different styles of player. But, I mean, I guess to your point, where Tyreek Hill would streak and Mahomes could just air it out and he's going to get it. Now, Mahomes has got to sort of adjust his style, or Juju's going to have to adjust his style. Now, is Juju going to be the number one wide receiver? Probably not. I mean, who knows? But from what I understand, because, I mean, real quick, I mean, their wide receiver room, they still got Sammy Watkins and whatnot. So Tyreek Hill was the only real major departure, and Juju was the only real addition. So, I mean, one way or the other, that wide receiver core is gonna be a lot different. But I mean, you still got like the all-planet tight end to end all tight ends. I don't even want to say the man's name because it's just not right. I haven't earned that right. But you still have the all-pro, all-world, all-league, better than Rob Gronkowski could ever be at tight end. Yeah, I said it. I said it. So really, I don't see much changing with the Chiefs' offense.
They also signed Valdez-Scantling too.
Yeah.
So I think he could have a big impact on their offense as well.
Well, I am going to say his name this time around because I'm just being silly. Kelsey Schuster and Valdez-Scantling. I think that between those three, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be fine. I mean, come on. This dude, seriously, I swear, and I want to say it, and it probably didn't happen exactly like that, but come on, man. This dude tossed the ball behind the back and got a touchdown. Okay? Patrick Mahomes be doing some globetrotter craziness. I don't see him struggling without Tyreek Hill. He's just going to have to make adjustments with what he has. That's all.
I would say some of the best players just in all of sports, they make adjustments. And here's the thing. Mark, like you said, putting more pressure on Tua seems like what Tyreek Hill was doing, and saying that the Chiefs are going to struggle. The Chiefs, all they really have to do is just stay the course. They make the playoffs or even win a couple of playoff games. That narrative that he tried to throw out there, that's dead. It's more on the spectrum of how does Miami look now that they have Tyreek Hill, and how does Tua look. I feel that's the more important story there, because the Chiefs can just have an average Chiefs season and it's all right. Tyreek really wasn't knowing what he was talking about.
Right, because the Chiefs can get to the Super Bowl no problem. I mean, they can get to the playoffs, get into the Super Bowl. It's another day at the office. The Dolphins, they got a new coach. They got a front office that's kind of been disarray due to the Brian Flores allegations, Mark. So I really do think that Tyreek Hill, much to your point, is putting a lot of pressure on this offense and on this team as a whole, and really on himself. So let me flip that script. Is this just a guy who is a star betting on himself to be a star no matter where he goes? No matter who's throwing him the ball, he's going to ball out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So this football season is going to be very, very interesting. This NFL season is going to be very, very interesting. There's so many storylines already, and we're not even at training camp yet. We're still about a month from training camp. I mean, we could be seeing Colin Kaepernick back in the league real quick. Does Colin Kaepernick get signed by the Vegas Raiders?
I was gonna ask, wasn't it the Raiders that were giving him a tryout, or was it like a whole?
It was the Raiders.
Okay,
No, it was the Raiders.
I think he gets at least one shot, or at least one more. He gets a chance to be a quarterback in the NFL again. I feel it's disrespectful to him not to give him a shot.
So is it the Raiders or somebody else, Mark?
That's tough. I mean, you look at a lot of the starting quarterbacks in the league, and I know that Kaepernick hasn't played in a while, but he went to the Super Bowl in what, his second or third season, I believe?
I believe that is the case. Yeah, he did. I remember watching that game too. He was still very, very young in his career.
Yeah, so I mean, Derek Carr is the man in Oakland. Him and Adams they have rekindled their friendship. So I think if he's gonna want to be a starter, he's gonna have to go to a different team. But I think he should deserve at least a backup spot on any team, or even on like a practice squad, and let him prove himself. You know,
it was his second season, his first season as a starter, second season overall, because he came into the league in 2011, went to the Super Bowl in 2012.
Yeah,
and only lost the game by 3. So, I think you're right. I think that if Kaepernick does get signed by the Raiders, it would not surprise me if a starter goes down for another team, they make a trade for him.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think that if he comes in and he balls out, if he does get signed, he plays back up to Derek Carr. If Derek Carr gets hurt and Cap balls out, you're going to have a little bit of a quarterback situation there in the Vegas.
Yeah.
And
so here,
sorry, go ahead,
I got a question.
I love questions.
If Kaepernick doesn't end up getting signed to an NFL team, do you think that he was going to try to go to like the USFL or the XFL once they get started up?
You know what? The only reason why I say no is because he's going to want to get paid. Does he love the game of football enough still to take a bit of a pay cut? Well, to take a pay cut to play in an upstart league. That I don't know. Because I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, this is what I was gonna say. Just imagine he does go to the XFL with the new ownership. I know The Rock purchased it, and they're starting to back up again. Just imagine he goes there, or he goes to some old upstart league, like Brian was saying, and he absolutely lights it up. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of, I wouldn't even say face of the league, but he's up there. He's playing exactly the kind of, he's all world quarterback level stuff we're talking about. I feel, even though maybe the money might not be at the same margin, I think the fact that he's going to an upstart league and he's balling out, the money's going to come in somehow. So I don't think the money aspect is gonna be a big problem for him.
Here's my, I like what I'm picking up what you're putting down. I get you. But here's my thing, Mark. He balls out. You're going to have these naysayers that say he's balling out against second-class talent. It's almost like if he does go to the XFL or the USFL, it's almost like no matter what he does, he's not going to get respect, because they're going to say you're doing against lesser competition. So, do you do that though, and then maybe try to raise the profile of the USFL or the XFL, and maybe they do then you start to get where it was in the 80s, where the USFL was getting players that the NFL wasn't. Because you look at the guys who started out in the USFL, Herschel Walker, I believe it was Steve Young, I do believe. You know what I mean? So it's a very very interesting point that you bring up. A very, very interesting point.
I'm rooting for him either way.
Yeah, me too. And I just think that everything that I've been looking at online is saying that he just wants a chance to prove himself, to prove that he belongs in the NFL as a quarterback. So I think if he's not going to get that chance, I think he would bet on himself and he would go to the USFL or even the XFL, because XFL, Dwayne Johnson, the owner, like you said, Jiarmani, they're going to be in connection with the NFL. They said that they wanted to sort of use it almost like a minor league system. So even if he goes to like the XFL and like you said, Bryan, if people are going to criticize him for going up against scrubs, well, I think that he would then respond with, well, then give me a shot. Let me prove that I can do it against the best players in the world. And so I think that him going to the XFL or a different league, I think it really could help him.
And as far as the talent level of the original USFL, among the people who started in the USFL, Herschel Walker, Doug Flutie, and Mike Rozier. And apparently, Reggie White began his career at the Memphis Showboats. So, actually, no, not the Memphis Showboats. It was, the Memphis Showboats. So, all right. I mean, it's definitely something to keep our eyes on. I'll tell you the truth. I'm rooting for Cap as well. There's a lot of people, and I don't disagree with them, where they're saying that they haven't watched any NFL since Colin Kaepernick's blackballing. And I can understand why. So we'll see, because, I mean, the bottom line is people want to sit there and say how terrible of a quarterback he was. Come on, that 49ers team was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. So get off my man's back.
Give him a shot. Give him a shot.
Seriously.
Yeah.
All right, so in our final story of the night, Tony Boselli has been campaigning to get into the NFL Hall of Fame, and I believe he's going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this August. But Bruce Smith, Jiarmani, is not happy about it. This is what he had to say. This is courtesy of Michael David Smith. Article from Yahoo Sports came out today, June 14th.
Let's see.
Quote, a large part of the campaign to promote Tony Boselli into the NFL, into the Hall of Fame, seems to hyper-focus on a single successful performance he had against me in a 1996 playoff game, end quote, Smith wrote. On the one hand, I'm quite flattered to be considered the gold standard by which another player's game can be measured to determine his qualification into the Hall. But on a more serious level, I and other Hall of Famers believe it sets a horrible precedent to negatively zero in on a standing member of the Hall's play in order to validate the candidacy of a nominee. The Hall of Fame is an exclusive fraternity that follows a tacit code of conduct which fosters respect and brotherhood between its members. Given the opportunity, any Hall of Famer could use his credentials to boast about his dominance over another member, but such behavior is deemed inappropriate because of the friction and discord it could create within the group. Maintaining the harmony and goodwill in the Hall of Fame is paramount, and it is precisely why player campaigns have historically been presented respectfully and thoughtfully, allowing the candidate's stats and complete body of work to speak resoundingly for itself. Resorting to underhanded tactics like targeting a Hall of Famer and hyping a one-game matchup to bolster a nominee's merit, as some of Tony's supporters have done, undermines the integrity of the Hall of Fame's election process. It also invites otherwise unnecessary commentary and scrutiny around the candidate's worthiness of becoming a member of the Hall of Fame. Since Tony's advocates have slid headlong down the slippery slope and dragged me unwillingly along, I have a few thoughts to share. All right, I'm going to finish this up because I didn't realize how long this was going to be, but it's also almost done.
You got a lot to say.
He really did. Tony was a formidable opponent during his brief career. Oh, he threw that one in there. But I find it difficult to compare the totality of his body of work with those of the NFL's greatest left tackles. With the exception of the legendary Anthony Munoz, Jonathan Ogden, Willie Roaf, and Walter Jones, all protected the blind side of the quarterback for 12 seasons or more. In Jacksonville, Leon Searcy bore the arduous task of protecting Mark Brunell's blind side, while Tony benefited from protecting the extremely talented mobile left-handed quarterback. During my 19 years in the NFL, several outstanding LTs such as Bruce Armstrong, Richmond Webb, and Will Wilford all had stellar games against me. Perhaps they too would be wise to build Hall of Fame campaigns highlighting that fact. End quote. He said a lot there. An awful lot. Jiarmani, do you think Bruce Smith has a good point?
Yeah, I would say most definitely you shouldn't. The biggest thing that stuck with me is body of work. I feel that is a universal phrase for anybody looking to get into the highest prestige of their respective sport. It's funny. I was thinking about trying to find a good like analogy. Imagine Malcolm Butler was trying to make a Hall of Fame case because of that one interception that won the Patriots the Super Bowl. I took it from Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
That's something that I was trying to compare it to. I feel that one game, if the body of work needs to speak for itself. I feel players shouldn't have to campaign on whether or not they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I feel that's kind of a pretty funny and weird question to ask players. Certain players anyway, that they whether or not they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. The body of work should speak for itself. That shouldn't even have to be a question.
No, I agree. And I think that sort of targeting one game against one Hall of Famer, I really think that's kind of crappy. Not to mention the fact, and Bruce Smith brought up a really, really good point. Tony Boselli wasn't protecting the blind side of Mark Brunell because Mark Brunell was a lefty. So that's a really, really good point. And the fact, and shout out to him putting over Leon Searcy, because protecting the blind side of a quarterback is probably the most important job in all of the NFL. That's why left tackles make so much money. Well, primarily left tackles, because it's a primary right-handed throwing league. But when you have a left-handed quarterback, it's on that right tackle. So I think that Bruce Smith is absolutely right. Now, does that take away the fact that Tony Boselli had a great game against Bruce Smith? No, it doesn't. But I think you're right. It should be a complete body of work, and one good game versus the great Bruce Smith ain't a body of work. You know what? I have to tell you, I had a really, really good rec league basketball game one night, Jiarmani. I was about 14, 15, maybe 16, I think. And I had a great game. I was on. I even kept my own stats.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I went 15 for 18, including 2 of 3 from the 3-point line. I think I should have played I should be in the Rutgers Park Hall of Fame. My name should have a little star on it right there on the floor of Rutgers Park. Right there on the asphalt. Because I had a good game.
Now, did you play at Rutgers?
No. I have never been to New York City. I have never even sniffed New York City. The closest I've been to New York City is when I was in Jersey for a family reunion, and we went over by the river, and I could see the Statue of Liberty from the telescope.
All right.
Now, Mark raises a really good. Why don't you come on screen and ask that question as well, because I think that's a real good question. You're muted, my dude. You're muted.
So basically, when you guys were just like discussing that, how he was basing it off of one performance, I just thought, like, should there be like certain statistics that you have to hit in order to even qualify to be in the Hall of Fame, to make you eligible? Like, do you need to hit certain limits in order just to even get your name on the list of people eligible?
Yeah. You know what? That's a good question, because if you play, and I'm going to reference 2K again. When you're playing in the My Career, they actually have stats that if you want to get into the Hall of Fame, you've got to reach some of those stats.
Yeah.
Before you can even be considered. And I'll tell you the truth. I think a lot of what they look at, obviously, of course, they'll look at stats, but they also look at body of work. And I think that they also, because, there's a lot of people that get left out of Hall of Fames, or they get not so much left out of Hall of Fames, but even jobs in their sport. Look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, never became a head coach. Why? Because a lot of people said that he was very, very standoffish. They couldn't keep him out of the Hall because of his numbers, but it didn't get him a job. So I think that when you have the numbers to speak for you, with the exception of baseball, because of the steroid scandal, I think that your numbers definitely speak for you. Now, with that being said, as an offensive tackle, I think as an offensive lineman, I think that you've got to look at the body of work way more than stats, because I mean, offensive linemen, what do they have? They have they now have statistics that show how good you are as an offensive lineman, as far as keeping your quarterback upright, keeping your quarterback clean, your pancakes, all of that. But the offensive line position does not have a stat line like some other positions. So I think they really do have, that's specifically, you have to look more at the body of work. And now Tony Boselli, he wasn't a bad player, but was he, but when I think of some of the best offensive linemen to ever play the game, his name doesn't come up, in my opinion. Does that mean that he's a bad player? Absolutely not. It's just, but there's a lot of good players that aren't in the Hall of Fame. Sterling Sharp, the prime example. Shannon Sharp himself has said, I'm in the Hall of Fame and I'm not even the best player in my family. But Sterling's career was cut short due to injury. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that have been snubbed going into the Hall of Fame. Hans Ward isn't in the Hall of Fame. And I think he should definitely be there. So
yeah, and I think that a lot of the times, and this goes for any sport, if you just look at stats, you miss a lot of things that happen on the field or on the court, because there's a lot of things that players will do that aren't in the stat book. Like you look at someone like Draymond's presence on the floor, he does way more than that the stats will record. So like, I think that's going to be something that's hard to track just with stats.
I agree. And I think Jiarmani, with the offensive line, that you proved my point right there. Jiarmani, when it comes to offensive line, there's a lot of things that offensive linemen do that aren't going to make a stat sheet. They can't. Now, granted, stopping Bruce Smith is a big deal. But were you doing that consistently against the best of the best, or did you have one good day?
Sometimes it just comes back to the eyeball test.
Yeah. But I do understand what Bruce Smith is saying. Why are you trying to catapult off my back to get you somewhere? Why couldn't you showcase you with other people? Why did you have to do this one game? So I don't think that Bruce Smith is throwing sour grapes. I think that he's got a legit beef. All he's saying is, why are you focusing just on this one game against me? Why don't you put with you up against somebody else?
Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad question.
It's not. I would say more, at least for me, for a professional athlete to be considered for the Hall of Fame, you should have the body of work to prove it. You shouldn't have to really state your case other than talking about your stats. Like, to feel disrespected by not getting in the Hall. And yeah, like you said, baseball, it's like kind of more of a slippery slope. But in this case is that sometimes it has to do more with, what did you do for your team? And like sometimes it doesn't end up showing in the stat sheet. So sometimes stats don't always tell the whole story. I understand that. But the fact that his main fuel for campaigning to get in the Hall is off of one game, I feel it's kind of, you gotta show me more.
I agree 100%. And I'm actually going to read off to you real quick just to finish this topic off, because, and this is courtesy of, this is on stadiumtalk.com. This came out last September 10th, 2021. They're talking some of the best quarterbacks that aren't in the Hall of Fame right now. Ken Anderson played 1971-1986 quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. I got to see him for a few years before he retired. Steve McNair, so far, is not in the Hall of Fame. Fred Taylor, not in the Hall of Fame. Otis Anderson, not in the Hall of Fame. Roger Craig, not in the Hall of Fame. Mike Allstott, not in the Hall of Fame. Harold Jackson, not in the Hall of Fame. He played for the Rams, Eagles, Patriots, Vikings, and Seahawks. He retired when I was like 4. So Cliff Branch, not in the Hall of Fame. I don't know who Billy Houghton is. 52 to 63. Never saw him play, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. Pete Resliff, not in the Hall of Fame. 55 to 66. Todd Christensen, of the Oakland/LA Raiders, not in the Hall of Fame. They're going by position, so they're basically talking about the best players at their position. Jay Hilgenberg, he was the center for the Chicago Bears during their run, during their dominance in the mid-'80s. Lomas Brown played most notably for the Giants. Bruno Beducci, never got to see him play. I'm going to go with more modern people. Let's see. Ron McDowell. Now, granted, he's not super modern, but he was an amazing player. 17 consecutive days without allowing a rushing touchdown, just to let you know. But that was one season. L.C. Greenwood, defensive end for the Steelers, not in the Hall of Fame. And that's so many people from that Steel Curtain defense made it in, and he's the one that didn't. Matter of fact, funny story, I went to high school with his daughter. And I wasn't a big fan of hers because she acted real stuck up. So the one day I finally got sick of her and I said, "You acting like you all this and that. Your dad ain't even in the Hall of Fame." She never looked at me again. I mean, she barely looked at me anyway, but then I threw that at her. She got kind of salty. Let's see. Steve McMichael, not in the Hall of Fame. Cornelius Bennett, he played for the Bills, the Falcons, and the Colts, not in the Hall of Fame. Let's see. I'm looking at some of these modern names. Eric Allen for the Philadelphia Eagles, New Orleans Saints, and Oakland Raiders. And I remember his game. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Tim McDonald, not in the Hall of Fame. Leroy Butler, not in the Hall of Fame. Matt Stover, not in the Hall of Fame. Gary Anderson, not in the Hall of Fame. And do punters really count?
I'll ask you this, Brian, because I saw a question got posted. Does Boselli deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Does Tony Boselli deserve to be in the Hall of Fame any more than any of the names that you just listed off?
No, because Cornelius Bennett should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. Roger Craig should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look at, like, Ken Anderson should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. Matter of fact, here's another one. This is on CBSSports.com. Top 20, the top 25 players not in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to go through this real quick. Ken Anderson, number 25. Steve Tasker, 24. Sterling Sharp, 23. Mentioned him already. Otis Taylor, 22. Darren Woodson, 21. Now, I'm looking at all right, so this is from last April. Okay, I just want to make sure. Darren Woodson, 21. Jim Marshall, 20. Now, granted, he ran back for a very, very long safety, but we won't hold that against him. Steve McMichael, 19. Tommy Nobis, 18. Lester Hayes, 17. Patrick Willis, 16. Sam Mills, 15. Hines Ward, 14. Leroy Butler, 13. Clay Matthews, 12. L.C. Greenwood, 11. Randy Bradshaw, 10. Ken Riley, 9. Zach Thomas, 8. Torrey Holt, 7. Richard Seymour, 6. Joe Jacoby, 5. Roger Craig, 4. Reggie Wayne, 3. And then, of course, this is from last year, so they had Tony Boselli at 2, Cliff Branch at 1. Now, here's the thing. There's quite a few guys on that list that I would put in the Hall of Fame ahead of Tony Boselli. Not being a homer, but Hines Ward would go in first. I would definitely put Zach Thomas in there. Clay Matthews, just for the longevity of his career alone. 17 years as a linebacker. That ain't easy to do. Leroy Butler was a force. Patrick Willis, granted, he only played for 7 years, so that's a very short career, but he packed in a lot in those 7 years. So does Tony Boselli deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Maybe not this year. I think you maybe push him out a couple of more years, right until he's at the end of his eligibility, and then you just sort of let him in.
It's like, yeah, you're good. You're good. How long you been here? 8
Oh,
years?
yeah,
All right,
yeah. We've let you wait a while. You've been waiting for a table for like an hour. I guess you can. You get the table near the bathroom. That's the best we can do.
Wow. No, they had to get you a makeshift table and then like throw the cloth and everything. Like it wasn't originally a table at first.
Yeah, look, man, it's gonna be a little bit of a wait. One of our guys is in the back, man. He's building your table as we speak.
Oh my God.
We're making it out of the finest redwood just for you. Meanwhile, it's not even redwood; it's like pine.
Yeah, you're just gonna BS
you know it's
them all
gonna be wobbly.
Oh,
yeah.
Wobbly.
Oh man, hold on a second. We got to get your yearbook and put it under here. There you go.
No.
That would be an awesome like gimmick for a restaurant. It's all wobbly tables. You got to bring your own book to keep it level.
And then food's gonna be falling all over the place if you get your book.
That's right.
I don't know if that would be good for business.
Hey, that's on you. You shouldn't have forgot your book. I'm just saying.
Okay. Oh my God.
But no, I seriously think I don't think Boselli should be in above some of those names. Like he definitely shouldn't be in before Ken Anderson. And there's some other offensive linemen that I think really deserve to be in there ahead of him. But I mean, it is what it is. That's just an opinion. He's in. 2 months from now, he's in that jacket and he's laughing his way to the bank. And he's like, hey, Bruce Smith, who cares? I got in on your back. Matter of fact, if I'm Tony Boselli, I'm up in there like this. And the Bruce Smith, I'm in on your back. I'm in on your back. In on your back. In on your back.
I don't think he's gonna be too worried about it because again, he said in the article, it's like I appreciate that I'm the gold standard. So if anything, that's just gonna be an ego booster for him. So I think a few months from now, he's not gonna care.
Yeah, probably not, because then he can be like, yeah, but I've had my ring way longer than you have. I had to get carpal tunnel surgery because this ring is so heavy.
And all that's happening until Tom Brady eventually makes Hall of Fame. And he's like, guys, I made it.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of glad. I'm kind of glad that he came back, so that way when Ben Roethlisberger gets into the Hall of Fame, he ain't got to share it with Tom Brady. Because this is going to be enough, because I think Drew Brees retired. Was it last year or was it this year?
I think it was a year before.
Or was it the year before? So he's going in on his own. He ain't got Tom Brady to compete with. So yeah, Tom Brady gets in. He's just gonna be like, damn, I can't even put on my Hall of Fame ring because I got all this bling on my. I'm gonna have to wear it on a chain around my neck.
Now that would be awesome.
Tom Brady, when he stops working out for football or whatever, he's going to still be hulking up, walking around like this, carrying all those rings on his fingers. I will say that.
The MVPs, the Super Bowl trophies.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, Giselle just going to have to build an addition on his house just to put all of his accolades in.
Yeah, but that's a good problem to have.
Either that or he can just his kids can just sleep in the garage or something. It can be fun. It'd be like going on a field trip.
Oh, my God.
All right, with that being said, make sure that you follow the show on Twitter at Tanndemonium VSM. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, and I probably should have led with this, if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, make sure that you subscribe to the Vendetta Sports Media Twitch stream, so that way you can be informed whenever anyone goes live, because we have live streams of gaming. As a matter of fact, the other day, Chad B was on there playing Pokemon. I watched a little bit of that stream, and for whatever reason, he had a Pokemon or something going around in a circle over and over and over again. It started giving me vertigo, and I almost threw up, so I had to shut the stream down. But and make sure you go over to YouTube. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Go over to YouTube. Follow Vendetta Sports Media over there on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you can get notified of some or all of our uploads. Make sure you definitely check out Jackson Law's new basketball series over there. It's doing absolutely amazing, absolutely killing it over there. And Young Jiarmani as well, throwing some good stuff on there as well. I'm very curious to see what sort of shade's going to get thrown toward the Celtics.
Don't lose Game 6, for love. Don't lose Game 6. That's all I gotta say. You won't hear a peep out of me if we win Game 6. I'll be more nervous about Game 7 if that comes to fruition.
Okay, hey, I feel you. I'll tell you the truth, man. It's been a while since any of my teams have been in a real crazy position of winning and being there. So, I'm not really in a space. But, I can only understand. I can only just say I understand. Well, no, the Penguins were in the playoffs and they got beat.
It's just the fact that the Celtics will have to go to a third Game 7 in this postseason to be crowned NBA champions. It's like I've already had a couple of Game 7s that I've had to worry about throughout my time as a sports fan. And now I have to invite that feeling again if I want my team to end the season off with a championship. So it's going to be fun these next couple of days.
No, I feel you. And then I'm real quick, and of course I'm having my CTE moments. I'll tell you what, man, head injuries ain't no joke. They're really not. So I saw a couple of people on Twitter sort of clowning about the new helmets that, the players are wearing during, the OTAs and whatnot. Hey, head injuries are no joke. You got to be very, very careful. But
sure.
make sure you definitely, if you go over to our YouTube channel, make sure you check out Courtesan Session. It's killing it over there. It's getting some of the highest views in the entire company, and that's just going by the quality that Jacksonville puts into it. Absolutely. Make sure you follow young Jiarmani over here, because he's going to start getting a little bit more stuff on that Twitter stream. Jay DePena 21. Mark Izzo, you got a Twitter you want to throw on there as well? Because you spitting some fire.
Yeah, so you can follow me at @MarkIzzo_wave.
MarkIzzo_wave. Hold on one second. Yeah. I'm gonna create a check this out. I'm gonna do this right here. Follow Mark Izzo at
I wasn't brave enough to try to create the banner right now.
You said _wave?
Don't even worry.
Yeah, WAV, like the audio file.
_WAV. Okay, there we go.
It's a bit
there
nerdy.
We go. Sorry, you can ride nerdy. It's fine. Oh wow.
Whoa.
They got a big one. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how
important.
I don't know how these things work, so
Well, there you go. Now you see it.
Because it's supposed to be a ticker. I just have it showing. Oh, there we go. Now I'm learning how to do this. Look at this. The old guy the old guy can figure things out. The old man figures it out. And make sure you especially make sure you definitely follow the main company on the tweet machine at Vendetta @media_Vendetta to get all of the Vendetta sports media content. It's all going up there. Shout out to the social media team making things happen over there at all times. And while you're at it, why don't you just go to vendettasportsmedia.com, check out all of our content and information over there. It's just over there. There's a lot of stuff over there. A lot of time, energy, and effort is put into it to make it the best. Absolutely. Your favorite Renegade Sports Media company is just killing it at every turn. And definitely a shout out to our sponsor as well. One of our partners, XP Coffee Company. Coffee made for gamers by gamers. You can get coffee, you can get hot chocolate, whatever you like. When you're live streaming, playing solo. Hey, back in the 90s, we had Jolt Cola. Now it's XP Coffee Company. That's all I'm gonna say. I gotta keep going back to the 90s, man. Gen X till I die, literally. All right. So with that being said, we're out of here. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. That's Jiarmani DePena. That's Mark Izzo. This is the Tanndemonium Sports Show. See you then.